Hey guys, we're going to go ahead and get started now. Thanks for coming to our 3D printing coffee breaks, the final installment in these. My name is Brandon Brown. I'm an additive manufacturing application engineer here at Quest Integration. A little bit about me before we get started. I have a bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering from Montana State University. Graduated back in 2017. I have over 20 certifications from Formlabs, Markforged, and SolidWorks. I've been a Quest employee for over 4 years, almost 5 now actually, and outside of work, I'm an avid mountain biker and skier. So in this series, we've been talking a lot about 3D printing or additive manufacturing and kind of how it fits into the modern production environment or modern manufacturing organization, discussing things like whether or not they're professional production tools and what some of the advantages are that you can leverage, and even how to prove a return on investment and justify investing in additive manufacturing. In this specific discussion, we're going to talk about how to properly implement 3D printing after you've decided that it's something that you want to look at in implementing in your organization and that you've decided to do so. So there really isn't actually a lot to this. It's more circumstantial and kind of case by case. But the main thing you want to do is develop a plan or an additive plan, they call it, an implementation plan, and how you're going to implement 3D printing or additive manufacturing in your organization. This is honestly the bulk of the work. Then you have to implement additive manufacturing. As redundant as that may sound, it does have a few things you need to consider, and you do kind of need to plan it out and think it out. And then very importantly, you need to sustain and support the use and growth of additive manufacturing in your organization to make sure that you're really getting the most out of it and you're working towards the advantages that it can provide. So additive manufacturing offers a tremendous amount of benefits to committed adopters. If you look at companies like GE or Siemens and compare them with some of their competitors that haven't implemented and embraced additive or just digital production in general to the degree that they have, you'll notice that they have a lot of competitive advantages because of this. They're much leaner, they're much faster, they have higher performing products, and they have a bunch of other advantages like say digital inventory that give them a lot of flexibility and make them really nimble compared to their other competitors. However, this is a different business model and an organizational model than traditional production, and you have to mold your processes and organization around it in some way, shape, or form to really see these kinds of advantages. And it really, to also see these advantages, you need to support it at all levels. You can't have certain groups or certain groups or like certain levels of or certain employees opposing it. It really needs to be supported to foster the growth that you're going to see. So the first step in developing an additive plan is to find yourself a good partner and to work with them. Whether this is a reseller like us, I know I do this with a lot of my customers and clients all the time that are looking at implementing additive manufacturing at some level, or even an OEM. So if the technology you need doesn't have reseller network, the OEMs will oftentimes work with you to help prove this out. This is important because they have a lot of experience with their technology and a lot of experience with additive in general, and they can help you out in developing a plan and implementing it and supporting it. And it's really important to keep a good relationship with them, as we'll discuss later. Additionally, you need to evaluate why you're looking at additive after you've done this. You need to look at what you think additive could assist with, what some of the what advantages it offers that could play into your organization. You need to look at kind of where you're at now, whether or not you have, say, 3D printers there, you have people that know how to use them, what your starting point should be. Like, for example, if you're if you already have a few 3D printers, you might be able to look at a like a more industrial system at this point. But if your staff has never touched a 3D printer in their entire life, it's probably a good idea to start at a different level. Or if you guys don't have much experience with it, it's good to maybe work at a different level. And then what are the end goals? So where do you want to go with it? How do you see additive being implemented? What is the picture in your mind that kind of comes to mind when you think additive implementation? It's good to think of these because these can help guide your the development of your plan in these next steps. After you've done this, go ahead and try to determine some initial applications. It's really important to work with your partner on this one because a lot of times they'll be able to help you qualify this and determine whether or not it's possible. Might even be able to provide like say sample parts or qualification parts to help you prove it out. I like to look honestly for problem parts. So I call them problem parts because they're parts that cause problems, whether they're difficult to make or annoying to make, these or just just cause hangups all the time, or just taking up time and then on like say valuable machines that really they don't need to take up time on. These are the parts that your engineers and production staff complain about, or the finance guys complain about. That just cause problems. They're oftentimes, and this is all just low-hanging fruit for additive in general, but low volume parts, high complexity parts, non-critical parts, and prototypes. Anything that's really kind of custom as well. So this is low volume. This is all kind of a low-hanging fruit for additive, and it's really good to start there because while you might be looking at other applications, it's really easy to justify implementing additive manufacturing with one of these. And a lot of times those four categories fall into the problem part category because of their inherent nature. After you've determined some initial applications, you've gotten kind of a green light for the technologies that you're looking at, and like some of the general technologies out there that, oh yeah, additive could work for this. You need to determine the needed technologies. So all additive processes kind of have different applications. For example, the Formlabs Form 3 on the right there is going to have a much different application scope than the Metal X. Or even the Markforged X7. So you really need to pick one or two processes that might be suitable at start. For example, if you are a consumer products, like a consumer product development firm, you know, you're probably going to want to look at something that can do some more organic shapes, make some smoother parts. That like a Formlabs Form 3. But if you're a large machine shop, it makes a lot of sense to look at like say an X7 or a Metal X that can help you produce critical tooling kind of on time and really efficiently. But you don't need to kind of diversify as much. You want to pick one that suits your kind of core applications that you identified. However, in the future, if you're going to truly fully implement additive manufacturing, you're likely going to need multiple different processes to cover a range of different applications, part geometries, and materials. Like for example, the four printers rather we have here, the Metal X, the Markforged Composite Series, the Sendo 2X, and the Form 3 are a great kind of all-encompassing package of all of those things. And then at first too, it's kind of redundant, but start with the simplest suitable process. Don't jump straight into, if you need, unless it's absolutely necessary. If you're looking to get into additive manufacturing, don't go out and buy a powder bed fusion machine or a DMLS machine. It's going to be very complicated right off the bat, and it's going to have a very steep learning curve relative to other potentially suitable processes that are going to allow you to really learn the ins and outs of additive manufacturing before committing to something that large. Additionally, after you've kind of chosen some technology and some applications, you want to determine some workflows and facilities requirements. You're going to determine who will use it, what it'll be used for, and where the equipment will be. So is this going to be something that's going to be used by the engineering staff and kind of put at their desks and in their area, and everybody else is going to be off limits? Is it going to be used by everyone in the central location, or is this going to be something that, this is especially true for larger industrial systems, this is going to be something that is put out on the shop floor for the production staff only to use, and you're going to have to go through the production staff to get parts made. This really kind of depends on your organization structure and some of your applications. So this is something you should definitely think about. And again, your partner would be able to help you out with this as well. Okay, so once you have kind of developed this plan, you've decided that it's something you want to chase down, the investment in additive manufacturing makes sense. It's time to pull the trigger and actually implement additive manufacturing. So the first thing you want to do is have your provider implement your machines. This is more so for industrial machines, like say if you got one of our Sendo machines, or Formlabs machines even, you could probably set it up and start using it. They're super easy to use. Not that our other ones aren't, but the industrial machines, it's really important, and just all the machines in general. You want to make sure your machines are set up and properly functioning. when you have an install done from a professional installer, they're going to check the machine over. They're going to make sure it's all set up and running properly. If there's an issue with the machine, they're going to catch it and fix it. Like if something got damaged in shipping. Or if they're also going to make sure that you understand the maintenance requirements and that your operators are trained, so nobody's making any mistakes on setup, preventing you from making potentially costly mistakes in the future, whether it's time or money costly. It also helps establish a relationship with your partner. So like a lot of times when I come on site, like say when I do a MetalX implementation or install, I spend a week with my customers and I learn a lot of the ins and outs of their of their organization, and kind of how they function and what they are planning on doing with it. I know the people there. I'm able to train them and, kind of qualify in my mind that they know what they're doing. So when it comes to supporting them later on, it's much, much easier. I have a relationship there and I can kind of tailor my responses and my support to their specific application and their specific needs rather than kind of not really knowing what's going on there. Speaking of training, it's really important to train everyone involved in this process. Anyone who's going to be even remotely involved with the 3D printers. For anyone that's going to be doing that, you want to give them some sort of fundamentals training. They should know how it works. They should know the basic ins and outs of the processes and just additive in general. We actually offer a class on this. It's just a day long, and it's mostly focused on FDM, but it's a great class for anyone just that's going to be around the 3D printers. Anyone who's going to be operating the 3D printers or maintaining the 3D printers needs to know how to operate the actual machines, start prints, load, unload, etc. They need to know how to use the software, the slicing software and build prep software. They need to know how to maintain the machines. Sometimes you'll have maintenance techs, and in that case, they need to know how to maintain the machines and use the machines. Engineers and designers, they might also be the operators as well, but if they're kind of in a separate group and they're not really operating the machines, they need to know some design for additive manufacturing. This is very machine and process specific. It does have some general, themes, but you need to know how to do this specifically for your process and your machine. A lot of times they'll have design guides and classes for each of these. I know a lot of manufacturers are doing this now, so this is something really important to look at. Additionally, software training. You want to make sure that these guys can use the software as well, because a lot of times when you're designing parts for additive, you're going to need to go back and forth between the slicing or build prep software and and your design to make sure that it's going to be effectively manufacturable. Okay, and then once you have the machines installed and everyone trained, start pursuing the initially identified applications. This is pretty turnkey. After the training and installation, everybody should be kind of on the same page and up to speed with what's going on and comfortable with using the machines. As you experiment, more opportunities for additive use will arise over time as you use these machines and get more comfortable with the technology. And additionally, if you have any questions, whether it's a technical issue with a machine or like an application related question, keep in touch with your partner. Tell them about what you're experiencing and ask them for help and guidance. They'd be happy to help you out. I know I do this a lot with my customers all the time, and it's actually really great. So when it comes to sustaining and supporting your additive manufacturing efforts, try out the new applications, as I said before. As your knowledge and experience grow, new applications will arise. You'll feel a lot more comfortable taking risks per se and experimenting with what additive can really do, especially with some of these newer materials. A good example is you're going to go from making maybe little brackets and little plastic parts around to making stuff you wouldn't initially think would be 3D printed, like this. It's on the bottom right here. This CE certified piston lifter from Warsaw. I think can lift it's like a think you can lift around 1,000 or 1,200 pounds before breaking. But they print these instead, and there are numerous advantages. If you're interested in that case study, I can get that to you. But this is the kind of thing that kind of happens over time, and it doesn't take very long to happen at all. Additionally, for this to continue to happen, you need to promote additive internally. Don't just let it die or discourage its use. Make sure that people know the 3D printers exist and that they're using them for what they're supposed to be used for, and that they're experimenting appropriately. This is how you really start to see the savings and the advantages of the technology, is when you start to really invest in it and promote it. Additionally, continue to learn and invest. If you need other types of 3D printers, or you need additional training, or you are looking at investing in newer applications, or need more bandwidth, definitely address your needs there and stay up to speed with that. That'll really allow you to continue down the path to fully implementing this technology. Additionally, make sure your efforts are supported. Support your equipment, make sure that they're on support plans, or that you have some sort of relationship with your partner. I know a lot of times partners keep consumables in stock, and other materials that may or may not be critical to the operation of your 3D printers, and getting these in a timely manner is really important. I know we keep these in stock for our customers, the really core ones. Additionally, having them supported, like say having, regular visits with your partners, is really important, because they'll be able to potentially catch issues, do preventative maintenance, etc. It really depends on the type of machine you're using, but that's really important to make sure that it's supported, maintained, etc. Additionally, keep a relationship with your AM partners. Like I know in our case, when I work with my partners, my clients, I really, it's really great to see where they're going. It not only helps, regularly communicating with them, not only helps, them stay kind of, on top of it, up to speed, making sure things are maintained, issues are addressed, etc. But it's really nice to see, at least from our end too. I really like to see personally when my customers send me stuff like, oh, look what we printed, look what we were able to do with this, look what we started experimenting with. I personally really like to see that, and keeping that relationship there just kind of is beneficial to both parties, and it's something that you should really do to make sure your efforts are supported. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for attending. This is the final webinar in this series. If you guys have any questions, again, please put them in the questions box, and I'll answer them right after this. A couple upcoming events. We have a 3D printing training tomorrow. We have a supply chain webinar coming up on the 19th and the 23rd on the workflow benefits and end product benefits of additive manufacturing. And it's not the 19th, it's actually the 18th. And then additionally, check out the YouTube videos on our YouTube channel. We're putting up a lot of videos, a lot of really entertaining content. I know my colleague, Brandon Adkins, ironically, he's named Brandon too, is going to be trying to break a bunch of Markforged parts and a bunch of other parts made out of other additive materials to see how durable they really are. If you're interested in discussing anything you saw in these webinars, or anything about additive in general, if you're curious about the technology, if you have something in the back of your mind, like, man, I wonder if we could print that, or I wonder what it could do for our organization, reach out to us at info@qintegration.com or 800-370-3750 and ask for me, Brandon Brown. I'd be really happy to talk to you guys about this. Thanks for coming.